This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Business, Equity, and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. We are approaching the end of the year and the holidays, of course. Time to wrap gifts, possibly purchased from local small businesses, gather for feasts with food from local shops and restaurants, perhaps. Whatever your plans, we wish you the happiest of holidays and hope you can use a gift of tools to use to start and run a successful small business. We have this week, as every week, 7 segments, all designed to cover important topics that a small business owner will face, from getting started to accounting and bookkeeping tips to a weekly success story. You can see our show every Sunday morning, including Christmas and New Year's Day. Catch us on Wish TV or our live stream, wishtv.com. Much of our recent content is also available to share on demand anytime at beoshow.com. The site keeps growing with information and resources. And while you're there, be certain to sign up for our newsletter, which we update every Tuesday. And subscribe to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities podcast to take us with you on the go. Now, let's get down to business. Here's what's coming up today on Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Jane King is back with her look at the financial world heading into the holidays and beyond. Keia Walker shares what you need to know about accounting and bookkeeping at year's end. Matthew Murphy III sizes up the pandemic's lasting effects on the business climate. And in our success story, we'll meet an entrepreneur who started very, very young. First, we get started with a simple question. Does your business plan include podcasts?
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Getting started.
Chris Spangle is a 15-year veteran of podcasting. In addition to doing his own hosting, he consults for local podcasts, including The Bob and Tom Show and Leaders and Legends, part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Chris offers his insights into how small business owners are embracing the idea of using podcasts to help get their businesses out there.
I've been a podcaster since 2007. I worked at a local radio station, 1430 AM, that didn't have a powerful signal and did a lot of news talk. And we were able to extend the signal of the radio station online with Abdul in the morning, and that's where I got my podcasting start. And then I left there to go work for the Libertarian Party of Indiana, and I've worked at Bob and Tom since 2013 as their digital director and working to take the radio show and put it online in many different forms. And we have a podcast there that gets 1 million downloads a month and is one of the top podcasts in the world. And I'm also on the Pat Down, which is a top comedy podcast with Miss Pat and Dion Curry. I also do podcast consulting. I've taken all this knowledge and now I work with people to help develop podcasts for their own businesses, for their hobby. I think people would be surprised at how much work goes into a podcast. There are 4 million podcasts, almost 5 million podcasts, and roughly 30 to 40% of those are active. And most podcasters never get past 7 episodes. And that's because it takes a lot of time to prep. And so working in radio, I see the amount of preparation that Tom Griswold puts into the Bob and Tom Show, and it's hours to go into that 4-hour show. Doing my own podcasts, it's reading a lot to put it into, thoughts about current events. I think people think that if I just sit down with my friends and do a podcast and chit-chat, then I'll just take off like Joe Rogan. But you do have to have some strategy behind it. If you want to build an audience, the more work you put into pre and post-production, the better the on-air quality will be, and the more audience you'll build over time. So I think that's the thing that people would find out is the most surprising part. It's not just people chattering away. Some are, but the best podcasts don't do that. So in terms of marketing, especially online, you've always had images like photography or memes. You've had written word in blogging and various copywriting. You've had video come on over the last 10 years with the rise of YouTube and people hiring firms to feature their show. But audio has been left out of that mix. And major platforms are starting to pay attention to audio now that they can monetize it. Monetization on a mass scale like YouTube ads have done for video has come into the podcasting space over the last 3 years. And so that means that more major tech companies are moving into the space and creating new technology, which affords networks like mine the ability to monetize. It affords small business owners the ability to create content in unique ways and then put that out and distribute it on different platforms. And it's a cheap form of content marketing. It's cheaper to hire someone to help edit your podcast, produce your podcast, than it is to create those large videos that are 2 minutes that live on your YouTube that maybe 200 people will watch. What podcasting offers a small business owner is the ability to connect with their clients, their users, or however you may term the people that you interact with in your business, your customers, in a very intimate and personal way that video and writing and imagery may not. It breaks down that barrier so people are able to listen to a conversation that you might have with another person and get a sense of who you are before they come through the doors or send you that first email. And in a world where people are a little bit more shy than maybe they used to be, they're a little more introverted, it allows them to put a human face on the contact before they actually reach out. You're also able to use it for lead generation. If I were to send a message to the leader in my industry and say, can I get lunch? Can I sit down and take an hour of your time across from you on your desk and chat? They might say no, right? That's a big lift for somebody who is at the top of their business vertical. But thanks to the use of everybody's own vanity, you can ask for an hour-long conversation on a podcast. It helps them maximize their time by promoting their projects, their businesses, while also giving you a face-to-face. And I've had clients that have been able to leverage these podcast conversations into business because of that one-on-one conversation. We brought Leaders and Legends with Robert Vane to the All Indiana Podcast Network a few years ago, and we've seen about a 30% increase in Robert's downloads while being a part of the network. It's also offered him opportunities to come on television to promote episodes. There's not a lot of podcast networks that can offer live TV spots on daytime television. And it really helps network together a lot of different shows. And so you also have the benefit when you're reaching out to potential guests to say, we're part of a local television station's network. Robert has been able to use his presence on your social media, in your email newsletters, on TV, to persuade guests that he might not have gotten otherwise. I think the future for podcasting is huge. Right now, about 40 to 50% of people listen to podcasting. One major CEO of a podcasting company just said that is going to be 90% within the next 10 to 20 years. If you're interested in starting a podcast, I run a group called IndianaPodcasters.com. We have a meetup every couple months where you can come and meet a bunch of other podcasters. It's a very safe place to come and ask questions. 25% of the people that show up to that are usually looking to start a podcast. You can always reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer questions at podcastingandplatforms.com. And I know the All Indiana Podcast Network has a great team that would love to help people, but there's 2 rules to podcasting that are ironclad. The first is you must be relevant to your audience. You must not waste their time. The second is you have to be consistent. So you have to pick a topic and a time frame, a time schedule that you can be consistent with that content, that you can manage that. If you can do 2 episodes a month, 1 episode a month, 1 a week, then you figure that out. There's a lot of great places to get information, like IndianaPodcasters.com, where you can come and meet other podcasters, or the All Indiana Podcast Network, or my own podcast, Podcasting and Platforms.
Getting started, made possible by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
If you want more information about podcasts in your business, getting it started, visit our website, beoshow.com. If you want us to follow up on what you think is a great story, or you'd like to be part of what we're doing, please email us at beo@wishtv.com. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Coming up, our Access to Capital segment, what makes a key leader of KeyBank a champion of diversity? And later, more insight from AJ Feeney Ruiz as he talks about life on a food truck in our industry focus. Business Equity and Opportunities will be back after we do this business with you. Stay with us. Welcome back to Business Equity and Opportunities and Access to Capital. The winners are in for the Indiana Minority Business Magazine Champions of Diversity Awards. Over the next several weeks, we'll introduce you to some of the honorees. First up, a key player at KeyBank.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to Capital.
Juan Gonzalez is the marketing president of KeyBank for Central Indiana, and he's named an award winner, the William G. Mays Excellence in Entrepreneurship Award. He shares his thoughts on the importance of diversity, gaining access to capital, and what the future holds for entrepreneurs in the state.
It's an honor to be part of this selected group. The names on that list are people that are doing some significant things in the community, and they all deserve it, of course. Some of them I know for many years. I'm originally from Colombia. I've been here 22 years, and some of those people there have been mentors in a way or another, and you see them grow their careers, so it's impressive to be part of this group. What it means is, look, I don't do what I do to be recognized, but it's great to be recognized, so don't take me the wrong way. But it's a great honor because not only the people have been recognized for making a big change in the community, but I think we're seeing this movement coming together and actually advancing the line to a point that I think is going to become normal, we hope, to talk about this without having to be like especially recognized. The next generation is very different than our generation, and we're starting to see this new leadership coming along. So it's extremely exciting to be part of that. And talk about a name, right? Like Bill Mays, one of the godfathers of the minority community here in Indianapolis, in Indiana. I remember when I came to do my MBA 22 years ago, that was one of the names that people will talk about all the time, you know, Bill Mays and others that were already doing some things in the community to help us all, you know, raise the tide. What it means is three simple things, I think, are not simple, but one, I think we finally have made enough recognition of businesses that are minority owned, that are making a difference, you know, are hiring people, are growing, are buying companies. It's all about economic development, as you hear all the time from leaders talk about. So they are creating jobs, which is significant. Number two, you know, they're employing younger talent that thinks very different than the way we think, which is amazing because now, you know, more females are in positions of power, more minorities are in position of power, and that combination creates this wave of success. And lastly, look, I'm getting old, so it's great to see that new generation of people coming along, making a big difference. I think this conversation has taken a different level since, you know, the summer of George Floyd and the interest of more companies in making sure that investments were going into minority communities. I tell you two things, there is a lot of capital out there, and I think what we don't have is enough knowledge in the small business community of that capital, if that makes sense. So, you know, we're a bank, like many other financial institutions. We have funds to deploy all of that, but there's some rules and regulations that people have to follow. Many times you find out in minority communities that they don't know sometimes what those rules are. So it takes probably a little longer to explain the process, but once they're there, they can access it. Now, there's also a number of institutions in town doing access to capital for companies that maybe are just starting, maybe are behind in some things, maybe they need extra help before they can become bankable, and they are doing amazing jobs. I mean, I think PPP, that distress that created, actually added a tremendous opportunity for the small business community to learn access to capital in a different way, and we all benefited from it, right? The banks, but also the small business community as a whole. The CDFIs, you hear that term a lot. They have done a great job making sure that deployment of capital has occurred in different communities. Indianapolis and Indiana, the state as a whole, I believe, has been trying to lead some of those efforts with extra funding that they got throughout the process. So it's been significant, I think, the amount of investment coming to Indianapolis. You can stay behind the line if you want, but you can see the demographics, right? So 10%, 11% of the community in Central Indiana is Latino. We're seeing a tremendous growth of the South Asian community, the Burmese community. Of course, you know, the African American community has been very relevant here for a long time. So you start seeing these trends that we're changing very quickly. Females coming into leading companies, and the whole WBE movement is impressive. I mean, it's actually exciting to see this new momentum happening. I'm actually very optimistic. I think Indiana, the way we're investing in capital into new companies and new technology, the way Purdue University, Indiana University, you know, you can count Notre Dame on this, Ball State, I mean, our university system is significant and very strong. I think we have a challenge on retention of those kids getting to college and maybe leaving. We need to make sure we continue to retain them here. But I think Indiana is going to be very well positioned for the future, and Indianapolis as capital city should continue to see a tremendous improvement on infrastructure and talent in this society of ours.
A recognition event for the Champions of Diversity Award winners is set for Friday, January 13th at the Marriott downtown Indianapolis. If you're interested in attending or you want to see the full list of winners, we'll have a link on our website, beoshow.com, and we'll share the stories of the winners here over the coming weeks, so make sure you watch. Up next, our market insider, Jane King, walks us through what the financial world is doing as the year winds down. Business Equity and Opportunities continues after a bit of business.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
Welcome back. Wall Street certainly winds down the year a bit differently. No one knows the patterns and possibilities better than our market insider, though. Jane King. For businesses small and large alike, the next 2 weeks certainly are different from the norm. What happens around the holidays on Wall Street?
Well, of course, it is all about retail and parties and the end of the year. And we do see a lot of people go on vacation. And so the trading volume is light. And then we also have typically what is called a Santa Claus rally. We rally into the end of the year. And that kind of happens as people even up their books. They get in and out of positions, try to make their overall results. Even if they can get another % or 2 added to their year-end results, they'll try to work on that through the end of the year. There's some people who think maybe we saw the Santa Claus rally early, like in November. We'll just have to wait and see.
Soon we turn the calendar page to 2023. What will you be watching in the new year?
Well, I still think inflation is going to be a story through 2023, at least the first half of the year. So we'll continue to watch that. We'll watch the Federal Reserve. They are expected to hike interest rates another few times. Another big thing that I'm hearing on Wall Street that people are going to keep an eye on is China and the reopening. They just recently announced that they were going to, sounds like, abandon their zero COVID policy, start to open their borders a little bit, start to allow some commerce to take place. So if that does happen, as some people expect it will, we should see oil rally. We could see the Chinese stock market react. We could see the global economy react. So we're going to keep an eye on China, how they handle COVID and what that could do to the global economy.
For small business owners, this has certainly been a big year of changes, everything from supply chain issues to interest rate increases. Is it too soon to predict if 2023 will be quieter and more stable, or should entrepreneurs keep alert and be aware that things are still unsettled?
Well, I think you always got to stay alert because this is a very uncertain world right now. Who would have thought in December we were going to see Russia invade Ukraine? That was going to be a contributing factor to the record high oil prices and gas prices that we saw this year. So you always got to watch for everything that's going on. But it does feel, at least at the moment, that we've hit peak inflation. We hit peak inflation, it looks like, in March. And so that is would be a relief if that would continue into next year. We don't have an election in 2023, so we don't have that kind of added uncertainty, but definitely keep an eye on the Republican-controlled House, what kind of investigations take place, what kind of legislation gets through, if anything. So still, as always, a lot of things to watch, although let's hope that it's not quite as momentous as what we saw 2022.
Well, a calm year would certainly be popular in many ways. Whatever happens, we'll keep relying on Jane for more insight in the year to come. Coming up, Keia Walker will have year-end tips on accounting and bookkeeping. That's when Business Equity and Opportunity returns. Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. If you're looking for tips on navigating accounting and bookkeeping in these last days of 2022, we've got that.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
Keia Walker is Director of Lending for the Indy Chamber. She helps new business owners understand the importance of keeping their accounts in order. And she urges business owners to keep their eyes on their books toward the end of the year.
I am the Senior Director of Lending at the Chamber. In my role, I serve as the underwriter, as well as we provide training and coaching and access to capital for those clients that can't get traditional financing needs through a bank. So the challenging barriers that my clients experience, that they may have credit issues, more so with challenging credit, with low credit score, they may be overextended in debt, and or the other barriers, they may not have any collateral, such as they don't understand what collateral is or what they can really pledge. So if there is a marketing firm, they will tell me they don't have any collateral, but they do have collateral because they may have equipment, they may have the inventory that's in their office. That's what they can use as collaterals. Those are challenging barriers where the bank, they want you to have one-to-one coverage. Here at BOI, we're a little bit more lenient on collateral that really can help our clients. Business Ownership Initiative is the CDFI. CDFI meaning which is a community development financial institution. So the difference between a CDFI and a bank, community development financial institution are able to do more riskier loans. More so is how I like to identify with our clients is we say when a bank tells you no, we try to tell you yes. And that is because more so our underwriting guidelines is based on a narrative-based underwriting that comes from the 5 C's of credit, such as credit, collateral, capacity, character, and commitment. And that's how we underwrite. So from a CDFI side, those are the parameters that we use. More so on a more traditional banking side, that is more traditional bank loans. We have creative underwritings where we can do more riskier loans. How we mitigate our risk are, we provide training and coaching to that client that can actually be a risk mitigate to where we can help them with their business and help their business scale and grow. The great importance of accounting and bookkeeping is really understanding your cash position. If you do not understand your cash position, then how can I understand a cash position to help you? I really want to help you scale and grow your business. So the importance of having an accountant, right? We all know accountants are very expensive. If you can't afford an accountant, we need a bookkeeper. We need somebody to look over your financials, your revenue, your expenses, your cost of goods, everything, and really understand that it's being documented properly so we can understand the true capability of your business is financially sound. You need to understand a financial position. If you're unable to understand where QuickBooks, there's other different accounting systems that you can do, HoneyBook or any of those. But here at BOI, we actually teach that on our training side, where we actually can sit down with a client and go over their cash management tool, that is something that we're proud of. We really want clients to really understand what those pain points are. We really want them to really understand how to scale and grow their business. So here at BOI, we teach cash management tool. That's the basic start of financials. In terms of the world, it is your 12 to 24 months projections. How to get in touch with us here at Indy Chamber Entrepreneur Service Division is indychamber.com/entrepreneurship.
If you'd like to see dozens more accounting and bookkeeping ideas and tips, visit our website. It's beoshow.com. Still to come on this week's Business Equity and Opportunities, our friend Matt Murphy returns to discuss life after COVID. That's next in Running Your Business Day to Day. And we'll be right back.
Grow your business with Wish TV's featured business directory. For less than $200 a month, be one of the limited businesses in 30 different categories, benefiting from one of the top visited websites in Indiana and Indiana's only statewide news station. Space is limited. Contact us today.
Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. The country's current surge in illnesses, including COVID and the flu, is adding another issue to an already crowded list of things you will deal with when you're running your business day to day.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities, running your business day to day.
Matthew Murphy III returns to give us his insights into how coping with COVID gave many businesses better insights about their day-to-day operations.
The pandemic really brought a lot of disruption to what we had come to understand as the norms of business. And then I would also suggest that the way forward when there's that kind of disruption is really fine-tuning the disciplines to react, and then in most cases also to be proactive. So for example, companies need to really focus on their internal financial team, and to the extent that they have to go outside for external team assistance, like consultants like myself, to have a path forward with that, so that the business is able to get what it needs when it needs it, and in the form and fashion that it needs it. So a lot of that is data driven. It's financial analysis driven, and so I think it's incumbent upon businesses today, more than any time in the past, to actually be very, very focused, laser focused on what they do and who they do it with and for. All business is not good business. Sometimes owners and entrepreneurs have to learn to say no, because some business actually can take you under when the profitability of the product or service that you're providing isn't there, and when there's not enough labor to take on the big job, you have to be disciplined enough to say no. But I think those were challenges even before the pandemic. I think they just became exacerbated during the pandemic, and it remains true even today. So here in 2022 and beyond, I think businesses are having to be sharper, and they have to know more. They have to plan better and more frequently if they're going to continue to grow and sustain profitability. But I think there's a lot of companies that have figured out, how to bounce back, and again, with the right product, right service, right team, right amount of financing and capital behind you, and the discipline to run the business the right way every day. I think these are challenging times, but they can be very lucrative times for different businesses, depending upon what business they're in. But there's another part to it that I think can be smart as well. It's the opportunity to collaborate with other businesses. When you can explore potentially joining forces, maybe not specifically with a competitor as much as someone also in the industry that you're in, and join forces to take advantage of market opportunities. So one of the tools that I always advise business owners to look at is who in the market or outside of this market can be a good partner potentially. And that could be a joint venture situation. It could be a teaming agreement by which two companies go together on an opportunity, and they paper it up in a way that is a win-win for both. So the collaborative process of businesses joining forces to take advantage of market opportunities is one thing that I don't see done as frequently as I think it could, because large companies still need small companies as vendors and subcontractors. a lot of standalone companies, small companies that want to become one of those vendors, sometimes the timeline to get there is long. So maybe the collaboration with others might be the way to accomplish that.
For more information about running your business day to day, visit our website, beoshow.com. Up next, our industry focus. See what goes on behind the scenes of a food truck. Business Equity and Opportunities returns. Keep it here. It is time on Business Equity and Opportunities for our industry focus. Last week we met a young man who left a career in politics to travel the world and become a chef. This week he shows life feeding others on the go.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities, Industry Focus.
AJ Feeney Ruiz has a fascinating life. Hiker, kung fu master, father, and graduate of one of the world's most famed culinary schools, Le Cordon Bleu. He took all that experience to launch the BB&B bread truck in his hometown, Indianapolis. And he explains how life with a truck is not always in the truck.
We are a scratch truck, which means that we actually make our meals to order on the truck as best as we can. The alternative is a scoop and serve, where you make all these things, you have them, and then you're essentially just scooping them, like lobster rolls, for example. You're not doing all that work on the truck. You made all this stuff ahead of time and you're just finishing it on the truck. Barbecue is scoop and serve because you're not smoking the meat. So we try to get all of our items as close to done as possible before the customization process, so we can actually do things to order to be a scratch truck. So that means that we need this huge kitchen space, especially since we have so many different menu items that we're working with. We need a lot of space for our dry storage, a lot of space for our frozen storage, and a lot of space for our refrigerating storage. So just storage-wise, we have to rent a large space. Then we have to have a kitchen, which we're in right now. So we have ovens, we have everything to kind of get everything all the way, and then I have to create these recipes that then can be saved in the freezer or in the refrigerator until it's time to cook. So some things you don't freeze, like our burgers never get frozen because it completely changes the consistency of the meat. But we try to focus on, aside from the burgers, things that will freeze and unfreeze well without degrading the quality of the food. But no, like it's not all done on the truck. You're required to have a commissary in Marion County and most other counties. And so this is our commissary where we are right now. We're unique in Indianapolis in that we are not attached to a restaurant and we're not family run. I mean, our team is like my work family, but we don't have like an uncle or a wife or parents or anything like that help run the business. And if I can't pay Uncle Joe for a couple of months, it's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal for my full-time staff that work here. So we have to be licensed in every county in which we operate. So not only are we licensed in Marion County, but we're licensed in every county surrounding Marion County. And then we get temporary permits for counties outside of the donut counties that want us to come and set up for festivals or for private bookings or events. So there's so many moving parts, none of which you're prepared for coming out of culinary school. No, I want to have just a celebration of food and drinks, and I want to start with these food trucks. So we've got bread truck, which is more street food, kind of fun things like that. The next thing, hopefully we get a trailer, and that's going to be the bistro trailer. And then we'd like to have a beverage truck, like a mobile champagne and wine bar. And then hopefully we get all those going and people get to try our food, and people seem to like our food after operating for the last couple of years. So my goal is hopefully to have some kind of a brick and mortar where we can run the food trucks out of and continue to add that aspect of things, be able to do private events and bookings, but also have a sit-down place where folks can come have essentially a sit-down version of each of our trucks. So you have the bread truck, or the bistro truck, or bistro trailer, and then we'll have an actual sit-down bistro, so you can have an opportunity to be able to have all these things in a sit-down, more formal dining restaurant where you can have friends and enclosed space, and just have a fun space for people to celebrate food and each other.
Ahead on Business Equity and Opportunities, the success story of Secretary of Commerce Brad Chambers, who got his start as an entrepreneur at a very young age. Stay with us.
Grow your business with Wish TV's featured business directory. For less than $200 a month, be one of the limited businesses in 30 different categories, benefiting from one of the top visited websites in Indiana and Indiana's only statewide news station. Space is limited. Contact us today.
Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. This is the inaugural edition of Entrepreneurship Indiana 2022. It's essentially a celebration of 100 success stories, highlighting the best and brightest our state has to offer.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities Success Story.
Secretary of Commerce Brad Chambers not only leads the charge for economic development in Indiana, he's also an example of how entrepreneurship can lead to success.
My path has been humble, and it's a path of hard work and persistence and step forward and 2 steps back and then a couple steps forward again. So Indiana's a great place for entrepreneurs, and I'm a beneficiary of that great place. My path started in high school. I was young, 15, 16-year-old, cutting grass. I mean, how many of you in the audience cut grass or plowed snow as a living? But it, as humble as that is, it's such a great teacher of hard work, responsibility, of accountability, of the power of earning, of controlling your own destiny. And so that's really how I started. And that business that I started as a high schooler turned into a fairly sizable landscape business. And then in my sophomore year at Indiana University, I think education in whatever form is important, but in my sophomore year at Indiana University, I actually was able to sell that landscaping company. I took the proceeds and invested in a real estate transaction in Indianapolis. And so from that humble beginning in high school to that first transaction in college, 38 years later, our business has grown and is a national real estate investment platform. So it was humble, but it's hard work, and the lessons along the way have been fantastic. To those who are given much is expected, and Indiana's got a great business climate. It's got a great entrepreneurial ecosystem. We want to make it better, and we want to continue to lift up entrepreneurs and innovators and risk takers, because I think it's fundamental to a vibrant economy to have people believe that they can start a business, run a business, grow a business, and thrive as an entrepreneur in our community. I like to use the example of Eli Lilly. When I'm in a crowd and I'm telling people about entrepreneurship, I ask them, I said, who's the most famous entrepreneur in our state? And I'll go on to say it was a gentleman who started his business 145 years ago by starting a drugstore down on the south side of Indianapolis. And then 145 years later, it's the 25th largest company on the planet. So entrepreneurial endeavors are endless opportunity, provide endless opportunity. Entrepreneurship provides endless ceiling for those who want to work hard and take a little risk. Whether it's businesses small or large, Indiana's culture at a government level, and I think throughout our business community, and even our nonprofits and our academic institutions, we care about people's success, period. I don't care if you're a one-person small business or a 100-person small business or a 10,000-person large business. We care about business success because it's self-perpetuating. The better you do, the better our state does. And so it starts with a great business climate in Indiana. But we also are humble Hoosiers, and we care about people generally and genuinely. So we have a good business climate. We have a good climate to be an entrepreneur and to build and grow a business, but it can always be better. I aspire for more. I aspire for better for our entrepreneurs and our innovators. I would like more people to start businesses and more people to be successful when they do start them. And so it's a real focus for me as Secretary of Commerce and at the IEDC as we try to build our economy, grow our economy into the next decade or two, to build an economy of the future. I think it's fundamental and super important to have a very vibrant and strong entrepreneurial ecosystem. I aspire that our entrepreneurial ecosystem is top 5 in the country. We've been ranked top 40 in the world, but I don't know that any of us get out of that bed in the morning and want to be top 40. We want to be the top. And so I aspire to build on this already good business climate in Indiana and make it great for entrepreneurs. Technology is expanding at incredible rates. And then you look to our universities, whether it's Purdue or University of Notre Dame or Indiana University or Rose-Hulman or Ball State. We've got these bright minds. And then you look around at high schools and some of the incubation of entrepreneurs in our high schools. It is super exciting. And I think the potential for Indiana in Indiana entrepreneurship and Indiana innovation is literally limitless. And so, but we've got to provide them support. We've got to provide them resources. We have to have folks that have had a great entrepreneurial journey like I have to support them as mentors. And with that, I'm just super excited about where we are as a state, where we are kind of nationally from an entrepreneurial perspective, and I think it's limitless, but we have to continue to lean in.
Adipose Therapeutics is a rising local success in the growing bioscience industry. Karen Worster is the CEO. She explains why companies like hers are making their home here in Indiana.
I work here at IBRI, which is the Indiana Biosciences Research Institute, in a lab where we are actually formulating a new treatment, new potential treatment for type 2 diabetes and obesity. I have worked in science and in diabetes the majority of my career. Everything from developing products to launching products to commercializing, all within the diabetes space. And about 2.5 years ago, I was introduced to a professor, Dr. Meng Deng at Purdue University, who had this brand new technology and a brand new approach to treating type 2 diabetes and obesity. Given my experience in that area, I was so excited about what he was doing that I really wanted to be part of it and really wanted to help lead it to success, to lead that product from the bench out to the marketplace. The lab here at IBRI provides a number of things for us. First is the ability to interact and be part of a community of scientific innovation. And that's important not just to me, but to people we hire and people we work with to be part of that larger community. And specifically here on the 3rd floor of the IBRI, it's diabetes focused. And so the people on the floor here think, and in the labs here, think every day about diabetes and how can we make life better for people with diabetes. And so it's really exciting to be part of that larger community. And then there's also a very practical aspect to it, which is as a small company that's working in drug product development and formulation, there's a lot of equipment that we need. We need freezers, we need incubators, we need cell culture areas, we need centrifuges, and all of those things have to be monitored and quality control. And it can be cost prohibitive for a small company. Whereas here, we can come here, we rent our small lab space, and then we have access to all that equipment around us. So both from a intellectual curiosity and being in that right environment and having the practical support we need to be successful in our scientific endeavors, we've really found that IBRI supports both those pieces. In addition to what the IBRI does, the state of Indiana has provided great support to me and to Adipose Therapeutics. It really does that in several ways. One is in creating an environment that is really helpful to starting a new company, whether that be through some of the tax benefits, the tax credits, through the recruiting. We have great universities here nearby that we can recruit from, and the larger investment community. Elevate Ventures, IU Ventures, Purdue Ventures have all played an important part in the work that we're doing and the success that we've seen to date. What excites me, I think, for the company, for us at Adipo, is to be part of bringing an entirely new way of thinking about obesity and thinking about diabetes and that dual epidemic and the way we treat it. Treatments to date have worked on two things. One is increasing the insulin in a body and decreasing the calories that people eat. Our product will work on the opposite side of that. It will actually improve insulin resistance and it increases energy expenditure. So from a product perspective and a company perspective, it's really exciting for me to see something like that and be able to move it forward. From a community standpoint, I grew up in Indiana. I'm an Indianapolis girl. I went to IU twice. My son graduated from the IU Med School, and so to be part of seeing this growing entrepreneurial community, and specifically the growing the life science area, has been really satisfying to me. I meet with other CEOs who are in similar positions as myself. I have been part of the Access Mentoring Program. I'm now paying that back by being a mentor within the Access program, and so it really excites me to see the growth in life science, to see the growth in female leadership within the life sciences, and to help propel that forward.
Karen Worster is one of the 100 entrepreneurs featured in Entrepreneurship Indiana 2022. It's a yearbook published by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. It honors the state's entrepreneurial ecosystem, in part to inspire future innovators. Check it out. For more information on it, visit beoshow.com. While you're there, whether you're leading a new business startup or working to improve an old one, you'll find useful information. And be sure to subscribe and listen to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast, which is part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Also, sign up for our newsletter. It has new information and resources added every week. And if you have questions or you'd like to be part of our show, send us an email. The address is beo@wishtv.com. And catch us every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock on Wish TV or streaming live on wishtv.com. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for watching.
Business, Equity, and Opportunities is made possible by Indiana Economic Development Corporation.